Hey, good morning, everybody. This is going to be an incredible international episode, sort of the People of Packaging podcast. I am joined by Megan Lalanne, and Megan is just as packaging engineer. So we're going to get into. She's got an incredible background already in various different industries, and we're going to talk about Andis, which you can see behind me if you're watching it, if you're listening to it. It's a really cool company that makes a lot of products for people like me and others who like to shave things like my head and my face. So I'm excited to talk about shaver packaging and all that goes into it. Let's get going.
Hey, good evening or good morning or good afternoon. I don't know if that, do you say good afternoon? Yeah, that's a word. Whatever time you're listening to this podcast, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day. It's considered TV, right? I'm guessing. We're live on the YouTube. Live on the YouTube. Not in Belarus, though. Told. For paper, you have to flatten it before you receive. I'm guessing they don't crush everything before they're collecting paper. Like 3D objects get routed away. If you leave your paper like a box, if you leave it assembled, the likelihood that it's going to get back goes down.
Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to listen to the People of Packaging. Megan, what is going on? Did you enjoy the intro? Was that fun?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I don't think I had seen the audio paired with the video before. It makes so much more sense.
Most people listen to there's not a lot of people who log on to YouTube and sit there and watch a podcast, because there's not a lot of cut, it's not, I'm not doing a lot of dynamic video editing. So most people, when they're guests, they're like, oh, I didn't know you had a video. It's like, yeah, there is. It's fine that nobody, or they probably just fast forward through it now. It's like, okay, skip, but that's fine. I'm used to it.
Podcasting queue. I haven't figured out how to do that on YouTube yet with the things I learned from. So,
yeah. Well, everybody, the voice that you are hearing is Megan Lalanne. And Megan, you are joining us from where?
The Dominican Republic this week. Yep.
And you say this week because you are able to work in this great industry. Excuse me. Sorry. I'm fighting. I told you before the thing. I'm fighting off this dumb cold, and it's just what's happening.
Yeah, there's those that tickle. Yeah.
It's the worst. But you're a packaging engineer, and you're able to work from the DR and also in Wisconsin. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I was hired by Andis in 2017. Was fully in the office for some time, and then I broke my foot and actually kind of accidentally ended up being a good test case for remote work because it was really hard to get around. And then when you're a girl in a office of mostly guys, at least in our engineering area, I didn't want to have to call somebody from another department just to go to the bathroom. It was too cumbersome. So started the hybrid that way. And then, a year or two later, we had COVID, and it was an incredible collaboration in our engineering team. I think a lot of people didn't think we were going to be able to function as well as we did as an engineering team. We pushed a lot of projects. We took on probably heavier loads than we ever had before with a larger team than we usually have. And that experience, I think I sit in product engineering. And so there is a lot of trust built within our group and with the rest of the company, I think. And my leadership within our team has been absolutely amazing, constantly evolving, but the culture of the company just has maintained over the years to be just extremely supportive of the employees. So I appreciate that flexibility with my company. Yeah.
And so you said you're in the product engineering team. And yes. So, most companies, and you don't have to disclose, but Andis is not a small company, but you are a team in the packaging engineering of one.
Yeah, right? And then I usually have a co-op, or a co-op and a half. That I think that's the biggest the team has been. But all of my suppliers, a lot of those relationships were established before I got there. And they actually knew a lot of the background of some of the decisions we had made with packaging over the years, or were able to propose some kind of more thoughtful packaging improvements, whether that was better materials, even just a better flow of running product, and have those conversations. And I think that took a lot of pressure off the buyers from having to have that expertise. I could have those challenging conversations, figure as long as you're dangerous enough to ask a couple really good questions, put them on the spot, then you can at least kind of figure out who's doing the thinking back there. I love sales guys who come up from the engineering side or start in design or some other area and end up there, because they can just talk from a really educated perspective. And I have a couple companies that have been very intentful in giving me salespeople who have that background so that it can be as collaborative as possible. And yeah, I think that's a really big part of packaging, is everybody just wants to help each other. They know that there's too much to figure out on your own. So
it's a great point. I mean, some of the best sales humans that I've worked with do have an engineering background, and it seems counterintuitive, because I think growing up I was always told like sales is like this slick talking, used car salesperson that's just, and it's like, no, that's not actually what happens. It's like, can you solve problems, and can you add value to our company and to our conversation? And so it's like press operators, engineers, people who maybe are historically stereotyped as like more introverted, and they are introverted, actually are really great salespeople, because they're just like, listen, I don't really know, but I would probably be in this material over that material, or I would do this over that, or when I ran the press, this is what we did. And it's like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Instead of
when I
just
used
like,
to make the tools, if we make this small change here, we improve. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, super insightful. And obviously you became so wise because of your education at
Stout, all the way.
Stout. Yeah. You are a Blue Devil, which is, I think I might have told you this, but like I have this weird affection for Menominee, Wisconsin. I've been there now a few times. I've been to a few basketball games.
Yeah.
I think it's a great little town. I really do. Like I like the town. I like the pizza. I like the beer. I like the vibe. They've got good coffee. They've got it's like this little tiny college town. It's what, an hour to Minneapolis ish.
Yep.
You can get to the airport pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tell me about your time there at Stout, because I don't know how many people in the packaging industry.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, they know about Stout, but like understand really the impact of it. So tell me a little bit about that. And I want to know, did you have a favorite professor when you were there?
Oh, of course. So even just packaging, I mean, if we're listening to this podcast, we already know that packaging is like this niche thing that a lot of us kind of stumbled on. I ended up finding out about Stout packaging through another student that was going to be going there. My dad's a high school teacher. One of his students said he was going for packaging. So the two of us went up to Stout, and kind of same thing, like just seemed a really nice sized college town. You have access to a lot of things, but at the same time, you can walk everywhere. And then, you find a friend who has a car to go to Minneapolis if you need a ride to the airport or something. Yeah. That part was really nice. Every time you go to a class or to a restaurant or something, you recognize somebody from something, even if you're not quite sure. So that intimacy was really nice. And then the packaging department within that was a growing program at the time. I mean, I think it's been growing for decades, but at that time they were really trying to see how far they could stretch the class sizes and not negatively impact the education. But we had a lot of good professors. I remember our freshman professor, somebody will have to message in with his name. It was like, reminded me of the guy from Up, just like sweet guy, had like an amazing like legacy of experience and could talk to anything. So that was like the first packaging class you would take. I think that was like the best introduction, him just talking about all of his experiences and then giving you quizzes. But Robert Meisner ended up being a really good mentor for me through the end of my college experience, and then even beyond, just when I'm coming up on some challenging decisions or trying to pick between things. Yeah, it's been a great
He's
resource.
great. He's one of the people that I'll grab coffee with when I'm in town.
Yes.
I just think it's that's what I love about this industry is like it is a big industry when you think about the global scale of it, and we'll talk a little bit about what that means for you and your role, but it also feels kind of small. Like even when I go to Pack Expo,
Mm-hmm.
it's like there's a ton of things happening and there's people everywhere, and 99% of the people I don't know, and that's fine. But I always see people that I know accidentally. It's like, oh
Yeah.
hey, how's it going, you, or whatever it is. I I'm obviously pretty bullish on it. I mean, I posted a podcast for 6 years about about this industry. So I think it's pretty great. Well, Megan, why don't we do this? We're going to I think the podcast industry says pay some bills. But
Oh,
I've got what's that?
I said, all right.
Yeah.
Do I get paid
We'll
too? No, just kidding.
we'll play a couple of notes here from our sponsors, and then when we come back, I want to unbox. I've got some cool products behind me. I would like to unbox one or two of them with you. We'll just kind of talk about packaging and how it's evolved for you. You said 2017 these
Yep.
started, so we're coming up on year 8. So how is the brand kind of evolved? How is it using packaging? And maybe what does it look like going forward? I've not looked or opened any of these, so these will be live unboxing, and I'm super stoked. So stick around, or you know what? If you need to fast forward, I understand. I do the same thing. But we'll be right back with Megan from Andis.
Are you tired of managing your specs in spreadsheets, PDFs, or relying on suppliers to do it for you? Learn how SpecRite can help you digitize and take control of your product and packaging specifications to drive sustainability reporting, SKU rationalization, and better collaborate across departments and with your suppliers. Go to SpecRite.com to learn more.
Have you ever wondered, how do I reduce my carbon footprint? Should I focus on recycled content or reducing weight first? Which design strategies are the most effective for my products? Triac offers multiple solutions for lifecycle assessment, goals management, reporting, EPR fees, and more. Visit triac.com to connect with our team and register for a free 10-day trial of Eco Impact Compass to get started today.
All right. That wasn't so difficult. We're back here with Megan Lalanne from Andis, and should we start with? I think we should just open up some boxes here because I'm excited to see what we got going on. So, I'll grab this. This is the Resurge Shaver Professional, and then they're kind of in similar boxes. I've also got this Pro Foil Shaver Plus, and what I noticed when there's a lot of cool like design elements in this. But one thing I noticed is that the box here on the left is a lot more sturdy, because I could kind of, I don't know if you can see here, like this, you can kind of go on the inside, and this one you can't. So this one feels like upon picking it up, it's a little bit more rigid. But on the shelf, you guys sell these retail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Retail and D2C, is that
correct? Yep,
okay.
Absolutely.
On the shelf, they present very similar. So maybe talk me through these, and I can start on opening them if you want me to start with one, and you can sort of talk through the fun structural and graphic design elements.
We had a really cool project about 5 years ago now, going into COVID. We were starting a rebranding. And so that's actually where this size of package came from. Ran a bunch of analytics on different sizes and sizes of our products, volume, etc. And this seemed to be one that cubed out our palette really well and presented quite well on the shelf as well. So we have that kind of very similar size front face, keeping that common height. And then since they're kind of two different price points, slightly different investment in the packaging, the reshave that we can do first that you're pointing out feels a little bit more. Yes, exactly. It feels a little more sturdy. Was one of the first all in high-end packages we were doing. The shaver was something quite different than something we had put in the market before too. So this is a really fun package, but also really unique to our line too, because the first time you do something, you go all in, you think it's really fun, and then as you realize that investment across all line SKUs may not be sustainable, you pick and choose. So.
One thing that I really like about, I think it's on all of your packaging, and I'll see if I can get it here, but you can see the reflection there. So you've got these little spot UV elements all over the box, and I have always been a big fan of just leveraging spot UV, because on a store shelf, especially in retail, on a store shelf, you just want that little moment. Like, it doesn't have to be the single most beautiful packaging that's on the shelf, right? Like, but it's like, we are such weird creatures as humans. It's like, you just want that moment to catch someone's eye, and then the rest of it can do the talking, right? But in a retail environment, that can be really, really powerful. What stores do you guys sell these in, by the way?
We have like 3 different sets of categories. Kind of, we have our animal and human, and then those get divided between like people who try at home, and then I'm sorry, can you hear the background noise? Okay.
No, you're fine.
Okay. And then between professional and they call like DIY. So when you're watching a YouTube video and you're trying to see how you can do it our own, that's like our DIY line. A lot of those end up being more colorful packages, end up being on more commercial shelves, Walmart, Target, and the like. So that blue and the green, you can see that just the colors in of themselves can be pretty engaging.
And the same thing, right? You still have the same elements here with the with the spot UV on the front.
Yeah. We have a great graphic designer who just keeps evolving this like minimalist look to try and make sure that we really are presenting what the product is, and the highlighted whys on the front. So
have you guys had to deal with any of the RFID? I don't think the RFID mandate for Walmart has really expanded into like the hair care side of things, has it?
Yeah, I remember looking in that to make sure that we have different like tracking that we do, and we had lines that we had RFID, but then like you said, because we didn't necessarily it wasn't necessarily required over time, that got pulled off for cost. So.
Yeah. By the way, I'll give a shout out to my friend Michael Manley, who works at Transparency with Amazon. It's actually a really cool app, and especially it works with a lot of different products. This isn't like a commercial for the Transparency app. I didn't even notice it till now, but it's really neat that you can get on your phone and you can make sure, is this a legit product or not? And it's a very inexpensive way for brands to be able to give that sort of trust, and not a lot of people know about it. So kudos to y'all for going with the Transparency app. Well, I'm going to pull out this this rigid setup box here. Another great design element is just this is cool. So this is just it's a flood coated rigid setup box, but again with the just the UV, right? Like no ink. It's just it's very minimal, right? But it kind of has that like, I'll just say like the Apple sort of feel, right? Like it comes out and you're like, this is a premium product.
Yeah. And with a color like black and the contrast with this really rich gray that we use, it almost feels like a foil or something without having to do that. So.
And then it looks like we have a magnetic opening here.
Yes. Very fun to play with.
Man, how is it? So your role, you're not doing the spot UV and stuff, but you have to kind of work with the packaging company. I'm going to guess because of the complex nature of this, and even like with these shoulders, like how this how this wraps on the inside. Like this is not made here this particular package has to be made overseas. I've actually been in facilities I think it was in Dongguan, that makes like packaging like this.
It's
And it's an
incredible.
intense process.
Yeah. Is
Um,
still a lot of it by hand? Or
yeah,
that's the part that's like absolutely incredible. I always loved crafting and wrapping gifts as a kid. Crazy that became packaging. And watching them do that so meticulously and so quickly, it's just mind blowing.
it's crazy. So, oh, look at this fun little surprise. So we've got a bunch of like printed stuff here in this compartment, but I didn't realize you open it up and look at all these like fun little stickers and stuff you get in here, and
pushing the new logo.
that's
which
awesome.
I think presents very, very well. It really does speak to the longevity of the brand. And you were talking about the transparency label earlier, when you're a brand that's been around for 100+ years, like we have now. It was about 100 years that we relaunched a new logo.
Good run.
You do have a lot of competitors or people who are trying to do something very closely and pass it off. So the transparency project with Amazon has actually been really helpful in that way to preserve the integrity of the brand.
That's so cool. And gosh, we've already been going for 21 minutes. Have you felt any push from your customers over the last, call it 3 to 5 years? Like, man, we see a lot of like
conversation.
Gosh, we see a lot of like paperization of packaging.
Yeah.
So have you felt anything, or even with, like we were talking before the call about some of the EPR laws that are coming up, to be like, hey, can we put this, this thermoform tray, can we make this out of molded fiber? Can we do some other things? Have you seen that, or is it there not much of a push in at this point?
Definitely investigatively, yes, those conversations come up. And I think a big part of it at first was, how do we try and do this in a more sustainable way? And then the conversation turns into, how much of this package, a book open, really intricate, rigid box, is essential for the customer to feel the specialness of the product, the reveal. I feel like so often a lot of our products look like trophies, and then they sit them on the counter in their stand like a trophy. So I really like when you're able to highlight the product on the open like that. But rigid boxes are just something that's really fun. I think something that fills a large amount of space in a lot of packaging person's closets, just because they're really hard to get rid of.
They're beautiful. And especially if you have, well, they're hard to get rid of, but they're also great talking points, right? Like, you're not buying this every single month. The hope is that somebody buys it and it lasts for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so keeping the packaging is, I think, not just a packaging engineer, but I mean, there are a lot of people that keep just nice packaging, almost like artwork. Like, I feel bad throwing this away. I'm going to get to this other one because I think it's interesting, the two different feels. But one thing, this is a free advice. It would be really cool to take this Create Your Way that's in white and do the same sort of UV against this kind of this gray color. Instead of the white, just do that gray that you have, or the UV that you have on the inside. I think that could be kind of a cool, because this isn't, you don't see this on the shelf necessarily,
Right.
but if it's big and kind of like Create Your Way the same way from inside, that'd be pretty cool.
There's so many cool ways that they got really creative with the brand presence like that.
Oh, I like the inside of this already. So this is the Pro Foil Shaver Plus, and this will be the last thing that we'll have time to unbox, sadly. But when I open it up, so instead of the rigid box, I have a flood-coated corrugated right here. So to your point, right, it still has that same feel of the rigid setup box, but I have a different tray, and I don't think there's any magnets or anything, right? So same fun stickers. But this is this a Do I fold? Is this a folded corrugated tray? Is this folded and glued?
Yeah.
Oh no, look.
Okay. And not even glued. I think it's self-locking on the.
It is. And so you kind of hide the stuff on the inside of it. We've got the thermoform tray right here that nests right on the inside. And then I'm guessing, I can easily, take this apart. So this is going to store flat. So if you had to store these things instead of a rigid setup box, or if you had to ship them anywhere, is the difference between these, are these both overseas suppliers for the packaging, or do you do some of these domestic? Like you could do all of this domestically, right? Like this box, this tray, this insert could all be made domestically if you needed to, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, it's a much more universal package than the former. And this is honestly one of my favorite packages of ours, just because it presents so clean, but there's still that there is that special feeling of like pulling the rigid box out. You still kind of get that from here without having to dig your fingers in there. That has the nice finger hole, and the tray sits on top in such a nice locked way.
Yeah. I didn't even notice until I looked on the inside, but this, again, on the top, this create your way is, there's a little embossing there, which is kind of cool. But this, it's neat to see sort of the evolution, right? Where you have, and I don't know necessarily what the price points on these are, but if these two are sitting on a store shelf, and I'm gonna guess, is this one a lower price point than this one? Yeah. But they don't look, they look the same, and it even gives a similar unboxing experience. So much so that if you were dealing with, and we don't have time to get in, maybe we'll do another episode. But if you're dealing with like, the tariffs that are supposed to be coming and the EPR laws, and you're like, okay, we need ways to maybe draw some costs out. You could easily switch this one to this format, keep the same outer box, and be able to navigate that. So you have ways to still have that premium feel, maybe without, the complexities of a setup box, which is beautiful. It presents really, really well, but now you have a little bit of room if you needed to. So I think it's really cool.
Oh my gosh, so much so. Yeah. And we have a really great graphic designer who collaborates so well with a lot of our printers, whether domestic or international. And that's what gives it that really strong side-by-side strength. And then that unbox reveal, we have some really great partners. Yeah, I'm really happy with how those two, there's stuff that's a little bit in the middle of those, but I'd say like those are definitely solid bookends as far as products of ours. That one's going to be something that's a little bit more in the middle, a more automatable rigid box done domestically with different thermoform tray and accessory setup, but similar in that experience.
Yeah, I know I said that would be my last one, but I just grabbed this because you've this box right here. So when you talk about like, this is probably, I'm gonna guess that this box is maybe made, or I guess
this is another imported package, but it is something that we also make domestically too. So this was one that was easier to dual source. Yeah,
because this box can be, I mean, you could buy a lot of these, right? Like if this is a common form factor of this is a tuck top auto bottom with a little locking tab.
Yeah, I
mean, it's super easy to make here, either here or overseas. It's not branded, so you can use this for various different things. So really cool. I didn't notice that one either. Well, awesome. Megan, I have way more questions and not enough time, but
more conversations. That's okay.
I know. How do people, so you mentioned Target, Walmart, places like that. They just go, is it andis.com, andis.com?
Yeah, it's a great resource, not only for getting the products, but also learning about how to use the tools and what tools are best for what purposes. Get you like 3 different types of shavers there, so you'll probably be able to find, you know, different angles that each of them work at or something along those lines. But yeah, let me know how some of those work out for you, and if anybody's looking to learn more about the Andis line, andis.com. And we have a lot of great educators and marketing persons that have great accounts that are usually Andis, whether it's educators, clippers, animals, groomers, barber professionals. There's a lot of different accounts there for people that have their own niche interest.
Should I bring back my shaving videos? Did you ever see when I made those on LinkedIn? Maybe so I would shave my head and I would talk about cost shaving ideas.
That's amazing.
And it was a little creepy. People were like, "This is a little weird," but maybe I'll bring those back. I'll grab some. I'll grab some of these Andis products and make some fun cost shaving videos. Well, Megan, I really appreciate you jumping on here. And best of luck to you. I'm excited. Maybe we'll connect up at one of these industry events. Everyone go check out andis.com. Really cool packaging, and support your fellow Blue Devil from UW Stout. And
any Blue Devils out there that need a co-op coming up, take a look at the Andis website. We have some job postings. So,
oh, sweet. Packaging job alerts. I'll make sure. I
have gotten a lot of resumes emailed to me directly for jobs, but right now looking for co-ops. Perfect. Well, Megan, I really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Make sure to hold on so we can get the recording uploaded. And everyone have a great day.